Welcome back. I'm Andy, philosophy lecturer, and today we're talking about the Enlightenment in our series of videos about the early modern philosophy. So this is all an introduction to the actual discussion of the early modern philosophers, which we will begin soon. But before we start with it, and we will talk much more later, it's important to have some idea about what Enlightenment even means. So sometimes it's said to begin with Spinoza, or perhaps even with Descartes, with the earliest philosophers of the early modern period who tried to distance themselves from the church and develop a system of philosophy that's independent of religious beliefs. But sometimes it's also centered more on the later part of this period, on Immanuel Kant, who wrote an article about what is Enlightenment. And from then on, Enlightenment became itself, like a term that was used to signify a particular movement. Another way to say what Enlightenment is and where it starts is to position it with a French encyclopedia. The encyclopedia was encyclopedia, as the name says, of human knowledge, where the French writers around the time of the French Revolution tried to create a collection of all human knowledge that would be written down and available to everyone. And so we have Diderot and Montesquieu and Rousseau. Rousseau was obviously this political philosopher who also talked about basing human society on the social contract, his version of a social contract, which before had already been talked about by many other thinkers like Locke, or even Spinoza had an early version of the social contract. But also in Germany we have Leibniz and Kant, who count as exponents of this period of Enlightenment. The Enlightenment attempts to provide a new understanding of the world based on reason rather than tradition or religion. The idea is that progress and civilization comes from science and reasoning, and this is accompanied by moral progress. So there is this connection, right? The Enlightenment is not only saying we need to construct, like today perhaps we would say spaceships and go to Mars or something, but it is always a moral project. We construct these things, we make these discoveries, we make these artifacts, we make industry, we construct, this industrial revolution, and this makes human beings better. This is something that Jules Verne, in his novels in the 19th century, then makes very central to his novels, how people become better through science and technology. And this also is an important part of this idea of the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment does not only make us more mechanical or more able to have technologies, but it makes us better as people through technology. And it's a pity that this got lost a little bit, right? Today we see this as two different things. We even often see technology as opposed to human growth. We would say, AI takes away our jobs, it takes away our creativity and so on. In Enlightenment, this was not the case. They thought that this development of science and technology makes us better. It frees us from ideas of God and religion controlling us and dark forces and so on, and gives us this freedom to make a better, more equal society. And also, of course, Industrial Revolution gives us more goods, so everybody can have more things. People can have richer lives materially and get out of poverty. And this also will make society better. So there is this rejection of religion and the rise of atheism that goes with it. And then also the questioning of traditional moral values. The king is, the father of society. This gets questioned. The emergence of themes like freedom, equality, justice, rights, the idea of human rights that are not given by God, but for some reason you have them as a human being. And these ideas will influence all these movements later. The French Revolution, the American independence, the idea that countries should have a constitution that defines the rights of the citizens and that limits also the power of kings and the power of governments. And one central figure there is Kant, because Kant tried This is a whole project of Kant. Kant was a very influential philosopher. We talk about later a lot about him. But the main point of him was that he thought that human reason can organize all the knowledge, can understand whatever is needed to understand, and can also provide moral guidance and political guidance. And so Kant's attempt was to determine to what extent the human mind is capable of a priori knowledge. He writes around the end of the Enlightenment period, and he wants to show that we can find answers within our human reason itself while not relying on religion or tradition. He tries to combine rationalism and empiricism. These two traditions come down from the previous thinkers, and he combines them into one view that explains how human knowledge depends on both. It depends on some innate things that we have in us, our brain structures, the way that they are, the way our mind is structured, but also on experience. And he tries to sort out which parts of our knowledge come from our innate construction and which parts of our knowledge come from the outside, from experience. And in terms of morality, he emphasizes human autonomy and freedom, and he puts the freedom of humans into the center of morality. So above all else, he says human beings are special. They are above all else because they have this essential freedom. And this is the important thing about Immanuel Kant. So he is like the pinnacle. He's the highest point of this Enlightenment, where he says humans are really, now we understand how they work, we understand how rationalism and empiricism contribute to the human being, and we understand that the human being is truly the highest form, the highest development, moral development, because it has this essential autonomy. So come back next time when we will be discussing how science now developed in this time and how science and the development of science and astronomy influenced the early modern thinkers. See you then. Bye-bye.